Australia's rental crisis isn't just bad, it's basically permanent.
And the rent increase keeps going up.
If you think the rental housing crisis is tough right now, you should see what it's like on the streets for all male applicants.
Can I ask how much your rent is? $600 a week. And it goes up in December,
Aussies are now paying a record chunk of their income just to keep a roof over their heads.
How the fuck are you supposed to survive on $30 an hour? I just got paid and I didn't even get $1,000 for the week of work that I just did.
I'm 35 years old. I'm sleeping on a mattress on the floor at my friend's place because it's impossible to get a rental or it's way too expensive.
We actually have a water feature in ours. Want to know what this random shiny silver thing is? It's a hole in the bathroom wall that hasn't been fixed for the past 9 months.
My rent is going up $700 a fortnight.
I just got another rent increase.
I am nearly 27 years old and today I am moving back in with my parents.
They were just trying to survive. Pay the bills, keep the lights on, stay housed, and then boom, the rent went up again. No warning, no explanation. Just a cold email, a quiet notice, or a landlord with a grin. 100 more, 200 more, sometimes even 500, just like that. This isn't inflation, this is extortion dressed up as market adjustment, and it's happening everywhere, from Sydney to Perth, from single mums to full-time workers. People who are barely holding on are now being shoved off the edge, not because they failed, but because the system decided they were profitable. Australia's renters are being ambushed by landlords who know they can get away with it, by a government that refuses to cap greed, by a housing market that treats shelter like a stock portfolio. And while wages crawl, rent sprints. While politicians talk, families pack. While the media debates, people sleep in cars. This isn't just a rent increase, it's a trap snapping shut. On the working class, on the middle class, on anyone who thought stability was still possible. And now, the message is clear. If you rent in Australia, you don't own your future. You lease it month to month until the price goes up and your life falls apart.
If you think the rental housing crisis is tough right now, you should see what it's like on the streets for all male applicants. When a homeowner and property manager are going through all the applications, let me assure you, all male applicants are so far down the pecking order, it's not funny. We're going top, couple, second, family, third, girls, fourth, old heads, fifth, all male applicants. So just really not sure what to do going forward here, but me and my two friends, after our singular application for the only house we've applied for was declined today, I'm lost for answers.
So about a month ago, I got an email from my landlord telling me that my rent was being increased, as is everyone's in the country at the moment. But it's going to $800 a week from $550 a week, which I feel like is a massive increase. Like $250 a week is a lot. I live, to put into context, in a 1-bedroom apartment in Sydney. I have no parking, I have no storage, and I'm paying $800 a week. Is this excessive? Is this even allowed? Is there any real estate people out there who can help me with this? Because, do I have any say in this? Do I just have to cop this? I'm literally going to be on my ass in 4 weeks, homeless. Because $800 is definitely out of my budget.
I'm 35 years old. I'm sleeping on a mattress on the floor at my friend's place because it's impossible to get a rental or it's way too expensive. And my only options are sleep in my car, sleep on the floor at my friend's house, or try and find a room in a share house if I can afford it, if there's any available. Knowing my luck, I'll end up with some fucking weirdos. How are those my only options? How are those the only options of many Australians right now? Before anyone says, you're 35, why don't you own a house? I did own a house in my 20s. I owned a house with my ex for 6 years. We bought at a good time in 2012. Then we split, he paid me out. It wasn't enough to then go and buy another property. So I think I'm just gonna have to start applying for rentals, like 1-bedroom apartments. I don't mind living in a tiny one-bedroom apartment. But having to pay $500 a week is fucked. I earn an average wage, but I can't afford that.
Shit rentals of Melbourne. I don't know why y'all are saying there's a fucking housing crisis. We actually have a water feature in ours. Beautiful. Love. Want to know what this random shiny silver thing is? It's a hole in the bathroom wall that hasn't been fixed for the past 9 months. Oh yeah, look at that. So when you have a shower, you can have a nice little hole to put your possessions in. Not to mention, the back gate doesn't lock properly, so we have to climb over it. And how much do I pay per month? $1,200. $1,200.
Guys, we're crashing out. Like, we are actually post-crash out. 5 minutes post-crash out, we've both just cried to each other because it's all just too much.
Can't do it anymore.
We can't do it anymore. We've been in Sydney for a day and already we feel like it's telling us we need to leave. Not to be dramatic, the universe is against us right now.
It really is.
Ellie needs to get an MRI because of a surfing accident.
But I don't have a Medicare card, so it's going to cost me $900. But
her Medicare card
I can't walk, so
it's
what
taking her.
option do I have?
It's taking her 7 weeks to get a Medicard. So MRI is out the picture. She's just going to have to hobble. We're going to have to source a crutch from somewhere. She also can't get a job because she can't walk around with and serve tables. We also haven't got anywhere to live. We're currently staying in a friend's bedroom. Like, we are homeless.
No, because you're going to set me off again.
Send help. Like, actually send help if you, don't know, universe, listen, please.
I just got another rent increase. I'm so angry. It makes no sense. It doesn't make sense. What am I paying for? The house has actually probably gotten worse. When I first moved in here, when was it? I can't even remember now. Like just during COVID. I can't remember. But anyway, when I first moved in, this place was $640 a fortnight. Want to guess what it is now? $860 a fortnight is what I'm now going to be paying. For what? For what?
Renting in Australia used to be simple. You paid your dues, followed the rules, and in return, you got stability. A roof over your head, a place to raise your kids, a chance to breathe. But now, it's a gamble, a monthly lottery, and the only thing you win is stress. Landlords are hiking rents with zero warning, zero justification, and zero accountability. Not because they need to, but because they can, because the system lets them, because the government refuses to cap greed, because housing is no longer shelter, it's a profit engine. And if you're on the wrong end of that engine, you get crushed. People are receiving rent increase of $100, $200, even $500 overnight. No renovations, no upgrades, no added value. Just a quiet notice slipped under the door. And if you can't pay, tough. There's a line of desperate renters behind you who will. That's the new reality. You're not a tenant, you're a transaction. A number on a spreadsheet, a disposable income stream. And the government, they're watching it happen. They've had years to act, years to regulate, years to protect renters from this chaos. But instead, they've sided with investors, with developers, with the people who treat homes like poker chips. They've let the market run wild, and now the market is eating people alive. This isn't just a housing issue, it's a moral failure, a betrayal of every Australian who believed that hard work would buy them peace. Because now, peace costs extra. And if you can't afford it, you're out.
Yeah, this comment is absolutely right. Australia is bloody cooked. And then you've got the government saying productivity is down. No shit, productivity is down. If people are working harder than ever, and most people I know, they're working their full-time job, they've got a couple of side hustles, and they still can't afford a house, they still can't have a future for themselves or for their kids, no wonder productivity is down. You know, we have a serious problem when people who are university qualified, and I'm talking like engineers, doctors, lawyers, healthcare professionals, teachers, people who are in really high demand, these people can't afford to live where they are required to work. That is a serious issue. No wonder productivity is down. I think a lot of young Australians are in this position now where they're like, what's the point? I did everything that I was required to do, all these things that were promised to me for following the right path that was set for me and doing the right thing by society. It's actually not bringing me any happiness. It's not giving me the things I was promised. So what's the point? What am I doing? What are we doing? What's everyone doing? Because yeah, at this point, I'm working my ass off to rent my landlord's fuck-ass small mold-infested studio, and I don't know, like, is it bad to want a little bit more for my life? Is it bad to want to go travel and see the world and do what makes me happy? Like, I don't know.
Australia's rental crisis isn't just bad, it's basically permanent. And no, that's not an exaggeration. According to Core Logic, Aussies are now paying a record chunk of their income just to keep a roof over their heads. Rents have exploded literally up to 50% since the pandemic, and developers are saying the pain has barely started. In fact, some developers have stated that this crisis could last another 15 years, even if the government comes in and tries to fix it tomorrow, which, spoiler alert, they won't. And why? It's literally simple economics. Vacancy rates are around 1%. Construction is the lowest it has been in a decade, and population growth is off the charts. 188,000 new immigrants arrived in just the last 3 months. International students and graduate visas are at a record high, all while the housing market is still crumbling. But here's the thing, this might not just be poor planning, this could be political. The Labor government has every incentive to keep immigration high. And why is that? It's because the biggest immigrant voting bloc, Indian Australians, overwhelmingly vote for the Labor Party. So don't expect Albo's government to moderate anything. They're not going to fix the rental crisis. They are literally fueling it. Because to them, immigration is a vote bank. But for you, it's skyrocketing rent, packed inspections, and no way out. This isn't just mismanagement, this is political choice. And unless we speak up, this rental crisis won't just continue, it will define a generation.
Can someone tell me if this is normal? Because we've been in this apartment for the last 4 years. We're actually one of their first tenant, and we just signed another lease extension for another 6 months in January, which is last month. I'm going to Vietnam in a week and I won't be back until 19th of March. It's crazy. Like, how am I gonna find a new apartment in Sydney within a week? And I have to move everything. The thing is, like, I never complain when they raise our rent. When we first move in, it's like $380 a week, and now I'm paying $520 a week. I thought they could have just wait until our contract ends. I just don't think it's fair since like we've been here for so long. I don't know. Do any of you guys experience the same thing? Cause like, I need some info here. I don't know, but I'm stressing out. I have a cake shop to run as well. I don't know how am I gonna do it. If I don't take my cake orders, that means I have less income. And in this economy, everything is so expensive. I can't afford taking a couple days off before my holiday. I don't know. I'm so stressed.
This guy is helping people squat in vacant houses, and some people are not happy about it.
Any rich people who live in a rich suburb and land banking, just remember to change the law.
Jordan Vanderberg has been dropping the addresses of Australian homes that are allegedly sitting empty, and he's got a lot of attention even internationally.
Rich people are just hoarding land and not even using it. It's an incentive for people to either do something with their property or for the government to do something.
He says squatting isn't something to be ashamed of, and that he's had more than 600 addresses sent in so far that he plans to share with people. This is one of the houses on his radar that used to have tenants, but he says is now sitting empty after the landlord refused to upkeep it. The flip side of all of this has come from lots of concerned homeowners, people who are worried about owner-squatter confrontations, and others saying it's better to focus on policy rather than encouraging squatting. Things like higher taxes on properties that have been left sitting for years. In terms of how legal squatting actually is, it's a bit of a grey area. You might have heard of adverse possession or squatting laws, where someone can legally claim ownership of a house after years of caring for it. But Dr. Wienert says several elements are needed there, and it's more likely that a person could be charged with something like trespassing.
Unless you have a lawful justification or excuse to be there, you are risking arrest and being charged, and in the worst case scenario, they could be imprisoned.
Jordan says most owners of the homes he's talking about wouldn't even notice someone was in there.
There are people who are living on the street now. While we're focusing on policy, what do you tell them?
Victoria's shadow housing minister has said homes may be vacant for several valid reasons and that some landlords can't afford to get their houses up to scratch.
For Mr Vandenberg to encourage people to enter empty homes is grossly unfair and in some cases could be terribly distressing.
How the fuck are you supposed to survive on 30 bucks an hour? I just got paid and I didn't even get a grand for the week of work that I just did. My name's Huddy, I'm 20 years old and I currently live out of home, so I'm paying my own rent, bills, food, fuel, and after paying all my expenses, I'm pretty much left with maybe $100 to $150 per week. Basically living paycheck to paycheck because the cost of living in Australia is completely cooked. My point is, how the fuck am I supposed to save for a house when you got houses like this going for $1 million? Let's just say I cut back on some of my expenses and I was saving $200 a week. Times $200 by 52 weeks of a year, that makes 10 grand. Meaning I would have to save for 20 fucking years to save for a 20% deposit on a home in Australia. Meaning I'm gonna be fucking 40 years old before I end up putting this deposit down on this house. And that's also assuming the house prices don't go up in the next 20 years, which obviously it fucking is. The thing that's fucking crazy though is I always scroll on my phone, right, and I see these kids making so much money from their phone. I make 50K in a year. These cunts are making 50K in a month. And I keep thinking to myself, why the fuck can that not be me? And look, even though I'm super skeptical about the whole thing, I've decided I'm gonna give it a crack because this job is not fucking working. So what I'm gonna do is document my journey here on my Instagram. Drop me a follow if you wanna see the journey. And let's fucking do it, bro. If you hate your job too, drop me a follow. We're in this together. Let's do it.
Can I ask how much your rent is?
$600 a week. And it goes up in December, like.
How much is it going up by?
I share with one other person and we split it evenly. It's going up to $1,350. So like we're gonna have to move.
Car spot?
No. No, like building amenities or anything. I think anyone with a full-time job shouldn't have to pay more than 30% of that income on their rent.
How much do you pay percentage of your income?
Oh God, like too much. Most people around here more closer to 50, I would say.
Right.
Yeah.
Is this like the first place you've rented or have you lived in cheaper?
I've lived alone in Melbourne for like nearly $420 I think a week, and that wasn't that long ago, so like it's definitely an area specific thing.
Okay, so where would you move if you were going to move to a different area?
I wouldn't. I probably would just like bite the bullet and rent, like just because unfortunately if that's the amount that it is, that's the amount that it is. Honestly, like you look at similar things in the area or like even neighbouring suburbs, you're still looking at an exy figure. So it's like that extra $100 to live in the place that you do want to live. Then
if you're going to be broke, might as well be in Bondi.
100%.
Do you have any aspirations to own property?
Not here. I think if anything, most people would plan on buying when they're a little older, when they want to live like outside of the major cities. I don't think it would be feasible for someone like myself to be looking at buying in Bondi in the next 5 years.
You don't need a court order to be evicted in Australia anymore. You just need a rent increase. That's the new displacement. Quiet, legal, brutal. A landlord raises the rent beyond reach and suddenly you're packing boxes. Not because you broke the lease, not because you trashed the place, but because you can't keep up with the greed. Families are being pushed out of their homes, not by force, but by math, by numbers that don't add up, by a system that lets landlords weaponize affordability. And the worst part, there's nowhere to go. Vacancy rates are at record lows. Waiting lists for public housing stretch into years. Emergency shelters are overflowing. And the government's response? We're monitoring the situation. Monitoring? People are living in tents, sleeping in cars, couch surfing with toddlers. This isn't a situation, it's a crisis. And it's not just affecting the poor. Middle-income earners are being priced out. Full-time workers are being displaced. Seniors are being uprooted. The housing ladder has turned into a trapdoor. And still, the government clings to the myth of the free market, that if they just let things play out, stability will return. But stability doesn't come from chaos, it comes from protection, from regulation, from leadership, and right now, Australia has none of that. This is eviction by economics, displacement by design. And unless something changes, the only people left renting will be the ones who can afford to lose.
Every time you or someone you know gets a rental increase, do this. Email both the state and federal housing ministers as well as your local representatives, making it their problem. Tell them your story and how this impacts you. For example, my landlord's increasing my rent by $200 a week. What should I do? If they do this, I'll be homeless. I'm struggling to make ends meet. I cannot afford this. It's their job to do something about the rental crisis, so let's make sure our collective voices are heard. Over 30% of the country is experiencing housing insecurity as we're held ransom for the roof over our heads. As rents are at an all-time high, thousands and thousands of people are being driven to homelessness. The government isn't doing anything about it, there's no support, and in some places the public housing waitlist is over 20 years long. It's also important to negotiate with your landlord when you get that dreaded email. In my link in bio, you'll find the contact details for the members of parliament to reach out to, templates, as well as a letter you can send your landlord or real estate agent when they increase your rent. I don't yet have a link in bio for my TikTok, but you'll have to go to my Instagram link in bio, it's there. But if everyone did this every time they got a rental increase, the government will be bombarded. And this may push them to act on implementing rental increase regulations across our country.
Do you know what I learned as a real estate agent? Some people are just incapable or don't think things through, right? I'm at a property in a low socioeconomic area in Western Sydney. I'm not going to say where it is. And there's a pit bull in the backyard. It has been abandoned and left here. The property was vacated after the tenancy was terminated. That orange sticker you can see behind me, that was left here 8 days ago by the RSPCA, who have wiped their hands of this poor, emaciated, starving, thirsty and frightened dog and passed the buck between council and police and private rescuers. And so now I'm here with a private rescuer who I am so grateful for. And thank you to everyone who does their own rescue efforts for animals, because, you know, we don't deserve them, animals. Like, I could cry. This poor dog is so scared, and because it's a pit bull, it is impossible to get him out. If it was a poodle, I would have taken him home, but it ain't no poodle. So yeah, here we are. It's a day in the life of a real estate agent, particularly a property manager. Sometimes it's shit. So I'm just here with the rescuer now, and she's peeping through the window, trying not to alarm the poor puppy. Let's see if I can show you him. Hang on a sec. Hi, baby. Oh, darling. Hey, sweetie, I wish you were more friendly. All I want to do is cuddle you, but I know you're going to bite my face off because you're so scared. It's okay, puppy.
His ears, it's not funny. He's got a lump on his side.
He's so hungry. Oh, baby, I'm so sorry. We're going to get you help.
I am nearly 27 years old, and today I am moving back in with my parents. This is not the plan I had for 27-year-old me, but that is just how bad the rental crisis is at the moment. I've been living on my own for the last 3 years. When I first started living on my own, I was paying $280 a week in rent. It was actually kind of fine to pay rent on my own, and I've never had like an outstanding salary. The reason why I'm moving back in with my parents is because my landlord wanted to increase my rent now to $450 a week. Now, I live in a small one-bedroom apartment in an old building. It's nothing flash. Sure, I live in a good suburb. I live in Melbourne. I'm probably just paying for location, but I have to pay to do my laundry. There's cracks in the walls. Like, it's nothing flashy. Like, it's not worth $450 a week. That's like $2,000 a month. What are people supposed to do? I'm so lucky and I'm so grateful that I can move back in with my parents, but not everyone can do that. So what's your alternative? Like, you're homeless? The thing that really grinds my gears is that I am 99% sure that my landlord does not have a mortgage on this place, so that can't even be an excuse for landlords on here. She's owned this place since about 1980, and I know for a fact she has 2 investment properties. So she's just making money off what she can from the market. And I was like, there is no way I can afford this. And I have been an outstanding tenant, like outstanding. Rent's never been late. My inspections are always absolutely spotless. I've never caused any issues. issues. And this is why my generation can't get ahead, why we can't buy houses. Like, I've been paying 20 grand a year in rent. But if I went to go get a house loan, they wouldn't see that as, oh, she can pay 20 grand a year. No, I have no savings because of how much I've been paying in rent and bills. That's why my parents were like, move home, save that money and try and get ahead. I'm so grateful. I love my family and I don't have any issues moving back home with them. I do have an issue with the fact that they live over the other side of Geelong and I'm still going to be traveling to Melbourne for work. So that's going to be so much fun. But what do people do? I'm so lucky I have such a great family that I can move back in with. But what's the alternative? Homelessness? Like, the government really needs to get on top of this because honestly, the state of the rental market at the moment is absolutely fucked.
Got a big problem here in Australia. And I don't know where in the world you are, but in Australia, this has become a really, really big problem. Now, you mightn't currently own your own home. I know I certainly don't. And the rent increase keeps going up. This year alone, we've had another rent increase and it jumped by $40. That's $40 a week. So that's $80 a fortnight. That is $160 extra a month that we have to come up with. Now, I don't know about you and what you currently pay in rent, but I can tell you right now that when the rent crisis is at a situation where it is more than 52% of 100% of your income, we're in a bit of a financial strife. We really are in this country. There are that many people that are homeless. We live on the beautiful South Coast. We have a Rotary Park not far from here. And there are currently, that I know of, over 14 different people living in this Rotary Park. These are everyday average people just like you and I, who either one have lost their homes, they can't get housing. I mean, did you know that even, this is how sad it's gotten here in Australia, that it is so sad that now when you go online looking for a place to rent, not only one is it absolutely nearly impossible to actually get a place to rent, but when you do, and it might say in the ad that it's $500 a week, $450 a week, $600 a week, whatever it might be, you're actually in competition with somebody who's got more money than you to offer for a weekly rent. It's disgusting. It is absolutely disgusting. So if I'm going to go and apply for another place to live at, and it says $450 on that advert, I'm expecting it's going to be $450, but I'm going to get outbidded on the quiet, mind you, on the quiet by somebody who can offer $600. They're going to get that place over myself. Now, that is a huge problem that we have here in Australia. And I'm just thankful that I've started digital marketing last year. I have been in the online space before, but I can tell you now that if digital marketing wasn't here, I can see that it would be very difficult for many. So if you're looking for a financial income online to earn a little bit of extra cash, then digital marketing can do that for you. I mean, if you could earn an extra $100 a week or an extra $100 a month, wouldn't that help? Like right now, I currently know that by us paying an extra $40 a week, that's $80 a fortnight extra. It's $160 a month. I don't see the pays going up $160 extra in your pay packet. If you're working a 9-to-5 job, are you getting supplemented from your workplace because, the shopping has gone up, because your rent has increased? I doubt it. So you need to find that extra cash. Yeah, the problem with that also is that if you go out and get a second job, you're going to get taxed twice as much. But you can learn digital marketing. You can start your own online business, and who knows where it could take you 1 year from now. You could be working full-time on your own business and you don't have that 9-to-5 job to rely on. It's just food for thought, people. But yeah, I just needed to get that off my chest because I just can't believe how outrageous it really is here in Australia right now with the rent increases. It's disgusting.
They didn't just raise the rent, they shattered the illusion. For years, Australians were told that renting was a stepping stone, that if you worked hard, paid on time, kept quiet, and didn't cause trouble, you'd be safe. That renting was temporary, manageable, fair, that the system was built to protect you, that the government had your back, that the market would self-correct. That stability was just a few paychecks away, but now that illusion is gone. And in its place, chaos. Renters across Australia are being ambushed, Not by natural disasters, not by personal failure, but by a system that decided their homes were investment vehicles, that their shelter was a commodity, that their lives were negotiable. And the result? A tidal wave of displacement, of fear, of quiet panic behind closed doors. This isn't just a housing issue, it's a moral collapse. A betrayal of every Australian who believed the rules were real, who believed that if they followed the script, work hard, stay honest, pay your dues, they'd be okay. But the script was a lie. And now the consequences are everywhere. Families are being priced out of their homes overnight. Single mothers are packing boxes with tears in their eyes. Seniors are being forced to choose between rent and medication. Young adults are living in cars, not because they're reckless, but because they're out of options. And the government, they're watching it happen quietly, politely, with press releases and empty promises. They'll say they care. They'll say they're monitoring the situation. They'll say they're working on solutions. But let's be honest, they're not. Because if they cared, rent caps would already exist. If they cared, housing would be treated as a right, not a business. If they cared, the people being crushed by this crisis wouldn't be invisible. But they are invisible because renters don't have lobbyists, they don't have billion-dollar portfolios, they don't fund campaigns, they don't sit on boards, they just live quietly, desperately, month to month, until the price goes up and their life falls apart. And that's the trap. That's the design. A system where landlords hold all the power, where tenants are disposable, where the government pretends neutrality while siding with the wealthy, where market forces are used as an excuse to justify cruelty, where the people who need protection the most are given the least. This isn't just about money, it's about dignity, about safety, about the right to exist without fear. Because when rent becomes unpredictable, life becomes unstable. You can't plan, you can't breathe, you can't build. You're stuck in survival mode, always waiting for the next increase, the next notice, the next eviction. And that's not living, that's slow motion collapse. But here's the truth they don't want you to hear. This crisis was preventable entirely. The government had time, years of it. Time to regulate, time to legislate, time to protect, time to act. But they didn't. They delayed, they deflected, they denied. And now they're scrambling to patch a sinking ship with duct tape and optimism. They'll blame inflation, interest rates, global trends, anything but themselves. But the numbers don't lie. Rent has outpaced wages for over a decade. Vacancy rates are at historic lows. Public housing is underfunded and overwhelmed. And corporate landlords are posting record profits while families sleep in tents. This isn't a coincidence. It's a consequence. A policy of priorities of a government that chose profit over people, that chose comfort over courage, that chose delay over action, and now the people are paying for it every day in every way. But here's what they didn't expect. People are waking up. They're angry. They're organizing. They're speaking out. They're refusing to disappear. Because when survival becomes political, silence becomes impossible. Renters are no longer just tenants. They're witnesses to a system that failed, to a government that abandoned them, to a market that treats their lives like numbers, and they're done pretending. Because this isn't just about rent, it's about power, about who gets to live with dignity and who gets pushed aside, about who gets protected and who gets punished, about who gets heard and who gets ignored. And the message is clear. If you rent in Australia, you don't own your future. You lease it month to month until someone decides you're no longer profitable. But that message, it's being challenged loudly, relentlessly, by people who refuse to be silent, by voices that refuse to be erased, by communities that refuse to collapse, because renters are not weak. They're not lazy. They're not failures. They're survivors, navigating a system designed to break them. And still, they persist.